Hey there, Heather Boyd Wire here.
Today I'm making a double toggle clasp with 16 gauge wire. We'll need 16 and 20 gauge wire, looping pliers, round nose pliers, our flat pliers, and our flush cutters. I'm just using the end of a ring mandrel. It's about a size 4. You can use a marker. I'm working right off the roll, but you can use about 6 inches of wire. And once we've done the loop, we're going to bend the wires straight down with our round nose pliers. You can also use the flat nose pliers to make a straight angle, and we'll just bend the two wires out. So now I've got my looping pliers. These are the bead-along bail making pliers, and we're going to use the smallest section and do a loop. Just leave a little bit of space between the large loop and the little loop, and then we're going to clip the end flush. And now we'll do another one beside the first one. Just wiggle it around so it's in the same position. Bring the wire around, and then we will clip that one flush as well. These are the Xuron flush cutters. So now we want to press the little loops so they're flat and there's no scratchy end. And we're going to add a small 4mm miracle bead. With the 20 gauge wire, bend the wire down on either side of the bead, and then we are going to place it on the toggle. So hold it in place. It's easy just to push each wire at the back at the same time so it doesn't get distorted. So push one to one side, one to the other, and then bring the wires around to secure it in place. And give them a good little tug so it's nice and tight. There's no slack. You can use your tweezer nose pliers to help. Just bring the wires around to the back, and then we're going to clip the end with our flush cutters and press that little end in so it's not scratchy. Now pull the other end with the pliers so it's easier to grasp onto, and clip that other end with the flush cutters. Push in that little pokey end so it's nice and smooth. And there you have your first part of the toggle. And now again with the 16 gauge wire, we are going to start with a loop. Again with the smallest section of the looping pliers, do another loop beside it, and then we have both wires coming down, and give it a little push with the nylon jaw pliers to flatten it out. Now we're going to bend the wires out on either side with the looping pliers. I'm working off the roll, but you can start with about 6 inches of wire. I like to have a little extra slack so it's easier to hold the wires. So now we're going to measure. We want to make sure it goes a little bit beyond the loop, and we're going to bend the wire to one side of the bead. And we're going to put another 4mm bead on the other side. I'm going to show you another option for the clasp as well. So we're going to bend the wire up. So the beads are inside where the wire is bent up, and we're going to hold it firmly with our thumb and finger and bend the wire around. The 16 gauge wire is quite firm, so this is a little tricky to get it bent properly so it doesn't get distorted. That is why I do the initial right angle bend to help out the wire a little bit. So we're going to hold it firmly, and we want to bring the wire all the way around so it surrounds the bead. So holding it with your thumb and finger, making sure both sides are equidistant. You can adjust it a little bit, rotate it a little bit if they're a little bit off, and bring the wires all the way around back down to the bar to make sure they're surrounded. You can use your tweezer nose pliers to help out if you're having trouble grasping onto the wire, so just bring it right around and just keep adjusting it till the beads are surrounded. And then we're going to cut the wires flush with our flush cutters. So get right in there with the point of the flush cutters and give the wire little clips on either side. So now that we've clipped the wires, we want to push in those little pokey ends with our tweezer nose pliers. These are the Xuron tweezer nose pliers. I'll link up all my tools in the description below the video and do any little adjustments that you need. So we want the cross wires to go straight out. And now to secure it a little more, just get some 20 gauge wire and wind it around to make sure it doesn't open up. So we can just go around a few times, making sure you're pulling the wire so it's nice and snug. And then we're going to clip the ends with the flush cutters. And we'll clip the other side, remove all the wire, and pinch it with the tweezer nose pliers so there's no little pokey ends. This toggle is a little more tricky to do than the one I'll show you next. It's a little more fancy with the bead on either side. And that's how it looks. So if you want to do one a little more simple, we're going to start with the middle loop using the Beadalon 6-step bail making pliers, and we'll start the same way we did the first one, bringing those wires straight up. So we have a double loop. Press it down with the nylon jaw pliers and then bend the wires out on either side as we did before. I'm using my smaller round nose pliers to be able to get right in there. You can press it anytime you need with the nylon jaw pliers. This will avoid scratching the wire. And you can also adjust those bends and sharpen them up with the flat nose pliers. Just wiggle it around so those bends are a little more sharp. And then now we're going to get some 20 gauge wire and our 4mm miracle bead. Bend the wires straight down. You can use about 3 inches of wire, and now we're going to place it just above that double loop and wind the wires around to attach it. So bend them either way at the back and then bring the wires around to secure it in place, and this will also hold the toggle together. Serves a dual purpose to make it look a little more fancy and more solid. Now you could wind it around 2 or 3 times. Depends what kind of look you're going for. You can wind it more times if you want it more ornate looking. Grab the end of the wire with the tweezer nose pliers so it's a little easier to pull. And then we're going to clip the end with the flush cutters. So get right in there, clip it. And then we have to clip the other end and press in those ends with the nylon jaw pliers. can do any little adjusting that you need. And we're going to measure where we have to make our loops and then go in with our round nose pliers and bend the wire in the position that you want. Your loops, we want to go a little beyond the toggle, and we are going to bring the wire around into a couple of loops. I'm making these loops a little smaller, so I'm using my small round nose pliers. Just measuring it to make sure it's balanced and it's a good size. You need it to be a little bit wider than the actual large loop so it will hold in place. And now we're going to clip those ends flush. So once they're clipped, we'll just press them with the flat nose pliers or the nylon jaw pliers. And that's how it looks. So I decided to turn the loops the other way because they're going to hold onto the toggle much better. So we just turn them the other way, and so you can actually create them that direction when you make them in the first place. Then you won't have to twist it around. I was just troubleshooting the design, so that actually works better. So you see when you put the loop together, it really grabs on there. So just for the sake of demo, I'm putting it together with some chain. You can also do a beaded style bracelet like I did previously with the flat wire. So if you want to use tiger tail and beads, you can do that. But just for the sake of demo, I got 2 pieces of chain and I'm going to add them on the double loop there so you can see how it works. So just getting some jump rings and some chain, hook it on to the toggle, close it up, and then we'll get another jump ring for the other one. I just had some random chain. I buy a lot of secondhand jewelry and then just take it apart to make new things, so it's always handy to have some odds and ends around for samples. So there we have the setup, and we're just going to put it through. You bend it and pull it through, and it just holds in place like that. So there we have the first style, and then for the second style with the beads, it works the same way. You just put it through, and it also holds in place that way. And there's a closer look to see how it works. You put it through and it will sit like that.
So thanks so much for watching the video. Give it a big thumbs up if you liked it. Be sure to subscribe to my channel for lots more wire art and jewelry making videos. And if you'd like to share photos of your wire art and jewelry, be sure to join the Wire Makers Club on Facebook. And if you'd like to check out my work on Etsy, my husband and I specialize in custom wedding cake toppers and funky jewelry. I also have a mailing list, so if you'd like to sign up below, I'll send you my Wire Art Essentials ebook. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you the next time.